lift your name on high. Lord, I love to sing your praise.
The Bible Society of Uganda, in fulfillment of their vision of a people fully qualified and equipped by the Word of God to do every kind good deed, has been helping the church in Gulu to cope with post-war and other related trauma that is acute in some areas. All churches are involved, and so far, over 1,000 people have been reached, including both children and adults. However, the work is made difficult by the gravity of the problem of trauma healing, the difficult terrain, especially in rural areas, and the individual household poverty or low-income base. Pilaya Mercy Kevin, age 16, a total orphan living in Angaba Parish, Koro Sub-County, Gulu District, an area with the highest cases of suicide. She was forced into marriage at 13 years, nearly died trying to give birth at 14, and later left what she recalls an abusive marriage.
Finally, we get to Piloya. Piloya is here. It has been a long trek, but we thank God she's here and we will be with her. You will get to hear her story.
By the time she met with the trauma healing facilitator, she was contemplating suicide. She narrates that her suffering started right from birth. It was at the height of Congo War that left millions internally displaced and many hundreds dead.
These shrubs may be used to harbor the rebels because, they are too high, too healthy.
Her life got more complex when both parents died. All her dreams were shattered when at 13, she was forced into a marriage that made her suffering more painful. She lived with a grandmother who also died.
My name is Aloyo Mercy Piloya. I want to thank Bible Society Uganda for what they have done in my life. I am an orphan. I lived with my grandmother who took me to school but passed on when I was in primary 5. After her death, I was left alone at her place.
Piloya was left helpless, homeless, and hopeless. She still went to church, but there was no help. After she ran away from the painful and agony-causing marriage, leaving behind a baby boy that she almost died while trying to give birth to.
I went to my husband when I was 13 years. When I reached there, I lived. Again, I began to get those hardships. I went for salvation. After salvation, the man began to abuse me, claiming I was a witch, that born agains are witch.
Her suffering became even worse when people that used to help her rejected her. As a Christian, she could no longer see the love of God. However, for the short time she has met the trauma healing facilitator, she admits her hope is getting restored. By the time she met with the trauma healing facilitators, she was on the verge of running away from a second marriage to a man already married to 2 other women. She confesses the second marriage was much more painful and abusive. She was contemplating committing suicide so that her suffering can be over at once. But she got into contact with the trauma healing facilitators who spoke to her about the hope and love in the Word of God. She was willing, and the process of helping her just started. Simon Peter Mwehama, the Bible Society of Uganda General Secretary, traveled to Gulu on Friday 12th June 2015 to assure the trauma survivors that the Bible Society of Uganda will do everything possible to support them.
We shall pray with you, we shall support you, and we shall be in touch with you.
However, conditions and lack of facilitation make it hard to help such people. We embarked on a journey on Wednesday 10th June 2015 to trace Piloya Mercy in Angaba Parish, Koro Sub-County. It was very difficult, but finally we found her, with the several guides that accompanied us. Traditional beliefs and culture is very eminent here in some of these rural areas of Uganda. We were barred from taking pictures from the home where she was because the day of our visit coincided with a ceremony where a goat was slaughtered and local brew prepared for Piloya's uncle, who had brought her back to the marriage Piloya says is terrible. There are several other people in Gulu who endure extreme suffering so that they can gain access to basic necessities of life. Majority of them are children aged between 10 and 17, especially those orphaned.